If you read the Leicester police interviews in 2008, you will see repetitive questions. The same question is asked in many places. For someone like myself, researching the Madeleine McCann case, I have to ask myself, why is this question important to the police? The police were asking in several places and in different interviews about Kate McCann running. Kate McCann was a keen runner over long distances. And I can't remember how that came about. That is what I was going to ask. Yeah, it may have been that because I think Kate might have run most days because she was quite a keen runner, and it may just be that either I thought I'd go for a run and she was already changed, or I was changed or Jerry might have said that I'm speculating. It may just have been a coincidence that we both got into running gear and that we decided to run together. Okay, right, so having said that, you had struggled to remember what you did each day. You have done pretty well really so far, and you have remembered, for example, that Rachel was unwell all day on the Wednesday, so therefore you had gone for a run with Kate. I am guessing, would that have been when Grace was asleep, or I think that was lunchtime? Yeah, do you remember what you did after your run with Kate? Daily Payne interview. Did you see Kate running along the beach at all? I didn't know. During that day? No. I understand from what I've seen in the press that Jerry and Kate would go running, or Kate would go running. Diane Webster interview. Did you see Kate at all running? No, I know somebody did in the group because they commented, but I didn't personally see her run. You didn't see her at all? No, but somebody, I don't know which one of the group, did say they'd seen Kate run past. Jane Tanner interview. We saw Kate running when we were at the Cafe Paraiso or whatever it was. Kate was running along. We saw Kate running along the beach. So she'd obviously gone for a run. Right, it was before tea time? Before, yeah. So it would have probably been before 5. It would have been sort of either before, definitely before 5:30. I would have said we'd seen her, yeah.
It was a really fun time that day. It was particularly fun.
She was sitting in there with a little dress and a hat on, and I was paddling my feet.
And it was sunny, and that's where we've got the photograph, the last photograph.
We had a lesson booked for the two of us, a tennis lesson, and then I stayed on and Kate went for a run. So at 5 o'clock I went over to meet the kids, and Kate came back from her running.
This is Kat Baker, who was responsible for Madeleine, and this is a document that explains her responsibilities. It says she hands Madeleine over at 5:30 p.m. This is Jerry McCann's signature on the crash records for the early mornings, when he often signed in the kids. This is the crash record of the 3rd of May, and this signature is a signature of Kate McCann, who signed Madeleine out at 5:30 p.m. In Kat Baker's statement to the police in Leicester in 2008, she stated, Kate went to get Madeleine from the tapas bar area, according to what I remember. She was wearing sporting clothes, and I assumed that she was practicing some form of athletics. I think that Jerry was playing tennis. This is the tennis rota for the afternoon, and it is well known that Jerry McCann was obsessive about tennis. It is highly unlikely that Jerry McCann ever left the court that afternoon or early evening. Kate McCann left the court to go directly to collect Madeleine from the tapas bar, hence her signature. Why did Jerry McCann wish to make it appear that he had accompanied Kate? In trying to understand what the police were trying to get at by asking questions about Kate McCann running, we can consider the interview of David Payne. Right, when you had your beach hour on the Thursday, so you came off windsurfing and then you had food at the beach bar. Where was Kate and Jerry? They certainly weren't at the beach bar. There was, as I say, it was all parties apart from the McCann family, and I wasn't aware that what they were doing at that moment. About not long after, you left. Obviously Jerry was playing tennis. Did you see Kate running along the beach at all? I didn't know. During that day? No. Around tea time-ish side. Or again, sorry to say this again, but I know she's been running quite a bit after Madeleine had gone. And again, it just gets a little bit patchy. And I saw her on the beach running. But whether that was after or before, I can't remember. And now David Payne is asked about his visit to see Kate McCann in the evening. And did you actually set eyes on each individual child? All 3 children I saw, yeah. And were they standing up, sitting down? They were generally standing up, yeah. Did they actually acknowledge you? Oh, yeah. I'm very sure that if you asked them, that evening or the next day, they'd all say, yeah, I popped in. I did know the children very well. We'd all, met up many times before. Again, I'd be playing with Madeleine, in the play area, during that week, lifting her up, twizzling her round and everything. I knew her that well, to do that. And as I say, she definitely know who I was. Yeah, was that the last time you saw Madeleine? It was. Kate McCann's account of that evening in relation to David Payne is made in the statement. While the children were eating and looking at some books, Kate had a shower which lasted around 5 minutes. After showering at around 6:30 to 6:40 p.m., while she was getting dry, she heard somebody knocking at the veranda door. She wrapped herself in a towel and went to see who it was. This door was closed but not locked, and Jerry had left by this door. She confirmed it was David Payne because he called out and had opened the door slightly. David's visit was to help her to take the children to the recreation area. When David returned from the beach, he was with Jerry at the tennis courts, and it was Jerry who asked him to help Kate with taking the children to the recreation area, which had been arranged but did not take place. David was at the apartment for around 30 seconds. He didn't actually enter the flat. He remained at the veranda door, according to her. He then left for the tennis courts where Jerry was. The time was around 6:30 to 6:40 p.m. The detective asked David Payne a key question. Could you remember what Kate was wearing? I can't know. David Payne's account of the encounter with the children is unconvincing. The detective asked Payne a number of questions about the interpersonal moment with the children, but Payne's reply is unnatural and fundamentally clumsy. It does not reflect a genuine interaction. What his reply style does suggest is that he is attempting to justify the encounter with the children in a defensive manner. It is also noteworthy that he does not state that any of the children spoke with him, although he claimed to have very personal relationships with the children, and particularly Madeleine, picking her up, twizzling her around. David Payne's suggestion that the detective talks to the children to get confirmation that he did encounter them is bizarre, since the twins are only 2 years old. It demonstrates the panic that David Payne is in and his attempt to divert away from these questions. What is also notable is that the detective asked David Payne what Kate McCann was wearing, and he says he cannot remember. Kate McCann describes herself as wearing nothing but a bath towel. David Payne is looking through double glass doors, and the door is open during their conversation. How could David Payne not recall what Kate McCann was wearing or not wearing? But there is another quirk in the evidence. Kate McCann stated that David Payne was outside and that he did not enter the apartment. She states that the conversation was over in 30 seconds, whilst David Payne claims it was a 3-minute conversation. Remarkably, David Payne also stated that he entered the apartment, contrary to what Kate McCann said. If David Payne entered the apartment, there is no doubt that he would have been able to describe Kate McCann wearing nothing but a bath towel. What we can deduce from the evidence is that David Payne never saw the children that evening in the apartment, nor did he enter the apartment. The question that the police were asking about Kate McCann running was likely to establish the time of day that Kate McCann went on her runs. They would not have missed the obvious uncertainty that Jane Tanner had about the time on the beach when she saw Kate McCann running. And yet, only a moment later, she turned and claimed decisively that it was definitely before 5:30 p.m. Why did Jane Tanner become so certain all of a sudden about the time that she saw Kate McCann on the beach? And why the sudden precision estimate of definitely before 5:30 p.m.? In this photo, we see the time at 5:30 p.m. at the beach restaurant. At this time, Kate McCann signed out Madeleine and took her back to the apartment. It is then suggested by the evidence that she sedated the children and put them to bed immediately, and that her rendition of reading the children's stories was a fabrication.
Harold swallowed bravely as he walked towards the floor, but the lions saw him coming and they soon began.
Again, it was kind of quite a nice memory, really. Madeleine was sitting on my knee and Sean and Emily were alongside.
To the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm used to the spot.
We read a story and...
Meanwhile, Jerry remained at the tennis courts, and Kate McCann left the apartment and headed for the beach, where she was seen by some members of the Tappers 7, sometime around 6 p.m. David Payne saw Kate McCann, as did others, and realized that Jerry McCann was still likely playing tennis. He surmised that the children had been left alone in the apartment, and he went to check the situation out. When he got to the apartment, it was locked down. He waited until Kate McCann returned from the beach and saw her in her running gear. Hence, He did not wish to mention this to the police, since it would raise further questions about what Kate McCann had been doing. It is likely that Kate McCann returned to the apartment and spoke to David Payne for 30 seconds as she had described. Kate McCann would have told David Payne that she had put the children to bed. The police were asking about Kate McCann running, likely because they surmised that she had left the children in the apartment unsupervised and that she had likely repeated this behavior many times on the holiday. When people ask why did the McCanns cover up the death of Madeleine, because it was a mere accident, the truth is that if the McCanns had declared a fatal accident, then the truth about a much wider abandonment of the children would have surfaced. It would have become clear that it was not just like being in your garden, as Jerry McCann claimed.